This is Motocross Action's 2024 450 Shootout, and in this video, we're going to tell you the pros and cons of all 7 of these 454 strokes behind me. For Motocross Action, our entire job is to make you, the viewer of this 450 Shootout video, better educated when it comes time to making a decision on buying a 454 stroke. Go to Temecula Motorsports if you live in the Inland Empire here in Southern California, or head to Fun Bike Setter in San Diego area to get dialed in on your new 454 stroke. And to keep things consistent across the board, we installed Pirelli's MX32 tires across all 7 of our 454 strokes for the Shootout. Before we get into the rankings of these bikes, let's talk about some of the details of all the models. First up, the Gas MC450F. This bike retails for $10,399. It hits the scales at 229 pounds. It has a horsepower of 59.3 and it is 36.8 foot-pounds of torque on the dyno. This bike is one of 2 all-new bikes for 2024. However, it's not very exciting and didn't draw much attention for this year because it's just a copy of KTM. Now, when I say that, it has the frame, engine, wheels, swing arm, and also suspension of the KTM, but it has a few minor differences that make this bike a little more tailored to softer suspension settings and vet riders on the track. What's different? Like I mentioned, softer suspension settings, forged aluminum triple clamps instead of the CNC machine clamps. The handlebars are 12 mil taller. It has no map switch, so no map 2, no quick shift, no traction control. The big difference though is the BrakeTech brake components and BrakeTech hydraulic clutch actuation. The Gas 450 is like a KTM, but with some minor differences. When life gives you lemons and you don't have enough money to buy a brand new KTM or Yamaha, look into the Suzuki RMZ 450. It's not a bad bike. Yes, it has a Kickstarter. Yes, it is the slowest bike in the class, and it's the heaviest bike in the class. But the Suzuki RMZ 450 is still a fun bike to ride on the track. The bike retails for $9,199. It hits the dyno at 56.47 horsepower this year, and it has 35.97 pound-feet of torque because if you buy it before December 31st, it comes with a free Pro Circuit T6 exhaust system, the full header and muffler included on the bike. It's part of the RM Army Edition bike that Suzuki's offering as a little bonus to buy a new Suzuki before the end of the year. You're gonna have to act quick though. Suzuki is more peppy and it's actually a little bit lighter. 241 on the scales stock, but when you throw that Pro Circuit system on there, it loses 2 pounds. Next up, the 2024 KTM 450 SXF retails for $11,099. It hits the dyno at 59.2 horsepower and it has 34.8 foot-pounds of torque. The KTM 450 SXF was all new in 2023 with a stiffer chromoly steel frame, new subframe, new swing arm, new suspension with a different rear shock, continuing with the WP Exact air forks, and of course the Brembo brakes that we know and love. The KTM 450 has pioneered the modern trends of smooth linear 450 power that we love. We also love the twin air filter that's super easy to access with a toolless airbox cover. Of course, it has the Brembo hydraulic clutch, ODI lock-on grips, and we actually like the WP air forks. They are a point of controversy, but we'll talk more about that later. The KTM 450 is Chase Sexton's new bike for 2024, and it's a good one for the MXA Wrecking Crew. All right, guys, using blood lubricants again to clean up the Yamaha 450, but we gotta give a big shout out to Decal Works. They always get us dialed in for the many test bikes the Motocross Action Wrecking Crew has. So of course, they're across all 7 of our bikes for our 450 Shootout. Now, let's get into the Yamaha details. The Yamaha YZ450F retails for $9,999. It hits the dyno at 58.5 horsepower with 35.8 foot-pounds of torque, and it weighs 233 pounds on the scales. Now this bike won our 450 shootout last year. It did not get any structural changes. However, it is white now. You can see that we have the 50th anniversary edition. This one is $200 more than the price that I quoted. That's the standard blue Yamaha. No structural changes though, just different color seat, the white plastics with the 90s inspired graphics on it. This bike is slimmer, lighter, and less bulky than it was in the past, and it is personally a huge thumbs up from the MXA Wrecking Crew. We love the changes that they made. We're also extremely impressed with the connectivity between throttle and rear wheel. It'll catch you off guard and you'll be doing wheelies all the time on the YZ450F. Next, the 2024 Kawasaki KX450 is all new, and this was the most highly anticipated bike for the 2024 season. It comes with an all new frame, all new engine, updated bodywork, a Brembo front brake, and a Nissan rear brake. Now that's a little bit weird. It's also got the ODI grips on there. We're very excited about this bike. It hits the scales at 239 pounds, so it did jump up on the weight. It retails for $10,399. As for horsepower, this thing hits 57.2 horsepower on the dyno, and it also hits 34.5 foot-pounds of torque on the dyno as well. Revising its already impressive handling, the KX450 has been known since 2019 to 2023 for a balanced aluminum frame that once you get the suspension dialed in, this thing was very comfortable on the track. For 2024, they continued to work on the frame, making it even more nimble for coming into corners. Overall, the KX450 is significantly improved that way. However, there's one thing that you can do to gain more horsepower on the KX450, and that is to remove the rubber grommet outside of the airbox. But as soon as you remove it, this thing will gain an extra horsepower on the dyno. And we got one place for that rubber grommet: in the trash can. Next up is the 2024 Honda CRF 450. It retails for $9,699. It hits the scales at 233 pounds. On the dyno, this thing hits 56.6 horsepower with 35.9 pound-feet of torque. The CRF 450 was the winningest bike in the 2023 season, with Chase Sexton winning Supercross and Jet Lawrence winning every single moto outdoors on this bike. They also won the Super Motocross Championship. Both Chase Sexton and Jet Lawrence battled all year long on the Honda CRF 450, at least the summer long. But the Honda CRF 450 for 2023 received minor updates to the engine and to the smooth delivery that the power has. Honestly, MXA's favorite CRF 450 engine in a long time. We love the usable power that this bike has, and we love the ergonomics of the Honda CRF 450. We raced this bike all over the United States in 2023, and with its great durability and power, we come to really appreciate the Honda CRF 450. Next up, the 2024 Husqvarna FC450 is $11,399. On the scales, it weighs 229 pounds. On the dyno, this was the fastest bike in the class, 61.1 horsepower with 35.6 foot-pounds of torque. The FC450 is 1 inch lower to the ground. As you can tell, I'm easily flat-footed on this machine. Why is it like that? It's got 10 mil shorter forks, and it also has a shorter shock. So the shock is the same overall as the WP shock on KTM and Gas, but it has a longer seal head to limit the travel just slightly. Also a revised linkage ratio to bring the seat height about 1 inch lower to the ground. Husqvarna FC450, 1 inch lower, a little bit softer on the track, and also a mellower power band with a closed off airbox, not getting as much air into there, but it still has a lot of the premium offerings that KTM has. Map switch, Brembo brakes, Brembo hydraulics, and air forks, all good stuff from the Husqvarna FC450. We here at Motocross Action take pride in testing these motorcycles front to back. We put tons of hours on each bike, racing them, riding them, and practicing on them here at Glen Helen and other tracks. Pursuit Energy is sponsoring us for this video and keeping us going, giving us the energy we need to pound through the testing days and knock out an awesome shootout video. They're completely made in the USA. They support the US military veterans with a proceed of the profits all going to them, and they're sugar-free. Check it out. And thanks to Bled Lubricants for getting all of our engines dialed in with fresh oil. Not only did Bled give us oil, but they also gave us detailer to make all the bikes look fresh and new for our shootout. And of course, you guys have heard about the new Ducati, Triumph, and Beta bikes that are coming out soon. Well, let's give our friends over at Temecula Motorsports a call and see what we can do to squeeze them in the shootout. Hey guys, Josh from MXA. Hey, we were wondering, do you guys have the new Triumph or Ducati or Beta bikes? No? Dang it. Just a 7 major brand, should we stick with those for this year? All right, so we can have those bikes next year though, right? Okay, cool. Looking forward to that. Thanks, bye. Now, let's get into the rankings. Coming in 7th place is the Suzuki RMZ 450. Unfortunately, it is common for the Suzuki to finish last place as this bike hasn't changed since 2018. We've continued to complain about the same things every year, like the stink bug chassis that puts too much weight on the Showa forks. Also the Showa rear shock. It's the BFRC shock on the Suzuki 450, which is very hard to get tuned correctly for you. It's very hard to handle on the track, making the Suzuki 450, the heavy bike that it is, even harder to ride on the track. We do appreciate the Suzuki's adding extra incentives like the Pro Circuit exhaust system to make it more entertaining to buy this bike before December 31st, but still kickstarting it, and it's still 7th place in our shootout. Coming in 6th place, once again, it's the Honda CRF 450. Yes, I did mention that we love the power, we love the ergonomics. Chase and Jet did awesome on this bike last year. However, it takes a full-time job to try to get the stock CRF 450 to handle correctly on the track. We do a lot of things to make it more comfortable for us. We definitely lower the sag in the rear end to take weight off the front end. It's very twitchy on the front. It's also oversteers coming into corners. We like to put 24 mil offset triple clamps on there from Ride Engineering and raise the front end up by dropping the forks to be flush in the triple clamps. These are a couple just band-aid fixes we make to the CRF 450 to make it more rideable. Unfortunately, it finishes 6th and it's a little bit off the rest of the bikes. Coming in 5th place is the Gas MC 450F. Now this bike was all new for 2024, as I already mentioned, but the philosophy behind the Gas brand and also the parts that have been added on it seem to be going downhill in the last couple years. This bike was a price point buy when it was first introduced in 2021. 2 years ago, 2022, this bike retailed for $9,500 and it was the lightest bike in the class at 222 pounds. Now for 2024, this bike jumped up on the scales to 229 pounds. It also jumped up on price to $10,399 and it jumped down on performance with BrakeTech brakes and BrakeTech hydraulic clutch actuation. Now BrakeTech brakes compared to Brembo, massive difference. All of our test riders noticed it on the track. So now you're getting a more expensive gas with less performance in the brakes. Up until this year, gas came with Brembo clutch, Brembo brakes, and now it's kind of going downhill in those two components. Still, the gas is a beautiful looking machine with a beautiful cherry red chromoly steel frame, some nice red plastics, but it's not quite a KTM or Husky. Coming in 4th place is the 2024 KX450. We had big expectations for the all-new model for 2024. Unfortunately, the engine fell short of that. This now has the lowest amount of torque in the class, which is very surprising, and it actually feels quite a bit slower on the track for 2024. The airbox configuration is honestly horrible. It's a flat piece of toast air filter now that's a little bit dangerous for getting dirt inside of the intake. Also, the suspension settings, they're on the soft side for pro level riders, good for novices and vets, but definitely down for more experienced and faster riders. The front end is a little bit twitchy on this bike now compared to before where it was ultra balanced and ultra stable. The KX450 did improve for 2024. We love the new smartphone connecting maps. We also appreciate that it has ODI lock-on grips instead of the vulcanized rubber grips. We also appreciate the Brembo front brake. There's a lot of things that we are appreciative of the KX450, but it is a first-year model with some definite room to grow. Coming in 3rd place is the Husky FC450. Now this bike, we already mentioned the lowered chassis that it has, which is great for vet riders, great for novices, and great for anybody hitting a corner. However, our pros and intermediates over the last couple years since this joined the new chassis haven't liked the lowered chassis as much as we did in 21 and 22 when it first came out. For vet riders though, it is a double thumbs up. A couple things we don't like about the Husky and also Gas and KTM are the spokes. They come loose very easily. You need to check them at regular intervals. Also, this chromoly chromoly steel frame is very stiff. Give it at least 10 hours of break-in time before you go and send your suspension off to a dealer. Also, those air forks, they need some break-in time as well, but it offers a smooth and mellow power that is extremely fast when you get up into the high RPMs. This year, our bike dynoed at 61 horsepower, way above the KTM and gas with the same engine, just a little different airbox configuration. Sometimes there is a little bit of variability behind bikes, and that's just how it goes. So Husky, fastest on the track, third in our shootout, great for vet riders in 2024. KTM is second place in our shootout for multiple reasons, one of them being the ultra stiff frame for the first 10 hours. Yes, it is nice and comfortable after that 10-hour mark, but it takes you some time and effort to get this KTM 450 fully broke in. Also the forks, as I just mentioned with Husqvarna, the WP air forks, they do have a 3-pound weight savings when compared to conventional spring forks, but that does come with some extra work. Pumping up the air forks each time you ride, also checking air pressure throughout the day if it's a hot day or if your bike's sitting in the sun. So there are a few quibbles that we have with this bike. It's not as easy to set up as the 2022 and prior model KTM 450s were, and for those reasons, the KTM 450 is second place. All right guys, it's been a long day of testing at Glen Helen, and some of our test riders are getting pretty tired. Let's talk to Josh Fout here, see if we can help them out. You need some help?
Oh, yeah. Hey, what's that guy's problem? Woo-wee! Pursuit Energy's got me pumped! Let's go!
So with 6 bikes ranked, there's only 1 bike left. It's the Yamaha YZ450F, taking the cake as MXA's 450 Bike of the Year for the second year in a row. The Yamaha YZ450F is well appreciated within the MXA wrecking crew, and with a whole nother year spent of riding and racing this platform, we appreciate it even more than we did last year. If you want to get a whole shot, this is the bike to ride. It feels like the fastest bike on the track, even though the dyno number shows that it's a couple numbers off of the Husqvarna. The throttle to rear wheel connectivity is something that we appreciate, but it's also something that we're very nervous of. And I do have to mention that just because this bike won doesn't mean it's perfect, and that throttle to rear wheel explosive bottom end character that the YZ450F has is something that we have to detune. So thankfully, Yamaha has their GYTR Power Tuner app that allows you to Wi-Fi connect your smartphone to your bike. They're the pioneers of that technology, and you can mellow out the maps. That's what we raced with mostly throughout the year. Also, aftermarket exhaust systems like FMF, Pro Circuit, and Yoshimura have all helped us detune that initial hit of the power and increase total horsepower as well. So it's kind of funny how they play with the dyno curve to make it more rideable and even faster on the track. Also, Twin Air's Power Flow kit was another upgrade that we appreciated this last year, not to increase power, but just to make it more rideable as well. So lots of cool things that you can do to make the YZ450F better. Another complaint we have is this round seat. It's very uncomfortable if you spend a lot of time on it. Guts does make a more flat seat foam that you can replace your stock seat with. So there's lots of updates and fixes for the little quibbles that the YZ450F has. It takes the cake as MXA's Bike of the Year, and it's 2-time champ. All right, guys. Well, that's it for our 450 shootout video. It was a good one, but there's always little details that we forget to mention in our video. It's just more of an overview of what we did through the shootout. For more details, be sure to stay tuned to the March issue of Motocross Action Magazine. We have all the details in there, the full written article where we don't miss a beat. The 450 shootout video, there's always 1 or 2 minor details that we forget to mention in the video, so be sure to check out the written article there. Also, motocrossactionmag.com for more details on each individual bike as we've tested them throughout the year. Good times.
About time to get off my lawn.
Fair enough. Thank you guys for watching. motocrossactionmag.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you in the next video.
Technique you want?